China. China is a country in East Asia and is the world's most populous country, with a population of around 1.428 billion in 2017. Covering approximately 9,600,000 square kilometers, 3,700,000 square miles, it is the third largest country by area. Governed by the Communist Party of China, the state exercises jurisdiction over 22 provinces, 5 autonomous regions, 4 direct-controlled municipalities Beijing, Tianjin, Shanghai, and Chongqing, and the special administrative regions of Hong Kong and Macau. China emerged as one of the world's first civilizations, in the fertile basin of the Yellow River in the North China Plain. For millennia, China's political system was based on hereditary monarchies, or dynasties, beginning with the semi-mythical Shang dynasty in 21st century BCE. Since then, China has expanded, fractured, and reunified numerous times. In the 3rd century BCE, the Qin reunited core China and established the First Chinese Empire. The Succeeding Han Dynasty, which ruled from 206 BCE until 220 CE, saw some of the most advanced technology at that time, including papermaking and the compass, along with agricultural and medical improvements. The invention of gunpowder and movable type in the Tang Dynasty 618–907 and Northern Song 960–1127 completed the 4 great inventions. Tang culture spread widely in Asia, as the new Silk Route brought traders to as far as Mesopotamia and the Horn of Africa. Dynastic rule ended in 1912 with the Xinhai Revolution, when the Republic of China (ROC) replaced the Qing dynasty. China, as a whole, was ravaged by feudal warlordism and Japan during World War II. The subsequent Chinese Civil War resulted in a division of territory in 1949 when the Communist Party of China led by Mao Zedong established the People's Republic of China on mainland China, while the Kuomintang-led nationalist government retreated to the island of Taiwan, where it governed until 1996 when Taiwan transitioned to democracy. The political status of Taiwan remains disputed to this day. China is a unitary one-party socialist republic and is one of the few existing socialist states. Political dissidents and human rights groups have denounced and criticized the Chinese government for human rights abuses, suppression of religious and ethnic minorities, censorship and mass surveillance, and cracking down on protests such as in 1989. The Chinese government says that the right to subsistence and economic development is a prerequisite to other types of human rights, and that the notion of human rights should take into account a country's present economic level. Since the introduction of economic reforms in 1978, China's economy has been one of the world's fastest growing, with annual growth rates consistently above 6%. According to the World Bank, China's GDP grew from $150 billion in 1978 to $12.24 trillion by 2017. According to official data, China's GDP in 2018 was 90 trillion yuan, $13.5 trillion. Since 2010, China has been the world's second-largest economy by nominal GDP, and since 2014, the largest economy in the world by purchasing power parity. China is also the world's largest exporter and second-largest importer of goods. China is a recognized nuclear weapons state and has the world's largest standing army, the People's Liberation Army, and the second-largest defense budget. The PRC is a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, as it replaced the ROC in 1971, as well as an active global partner of ASEAN Plus mechanism. Since 2019, China has the highest number of rich people in the world. China has been characterized as a potential superpower, mainly because of its massive population, large and rapidly growing economy, and powerful military. Etymology of China. The word China has been used in English since the 16th century. However, it was not a word used by the Chinese themselves during the period. Its origin has been traced through Portuguese, Malay, and Persian back to the Sanskrit word China, used in ancient India. China appears in Richard Eden's 1555 translation of the 1516 journal of the Portuguese explorer Duarte Barbosa. Barbosa's usage was derived from Persian China, which was in turn derived from was first used in early Hindu scripture, including the Mahabharata 5th century BCE and the Laws of Manu 2nd century BCE. In 1655, Martino Martini suggested that the word China is derived ultimately from the name of the Qin dynasty 221–206 BCE. Although this derivation is still given in various sources, the origin of the Sanskrit word is a matter of debate, according to the Oxford English Dictionary. Alternative suggestions include the names for Yeling and the Jing or Chu state. Western Zhou dynasty in reference to its royal demesne. It was then applied to the area around Luoyi, present-day Luoyang, during the Eastern Zhou and then to China's central plain before being used as an occasional synonym for the state under the Qing. It was often used as a cultural concept to distinguish the Huaxia people from perceived barbarians. The name Zhongguo is also translated as Middle Kingdom in English. Geography of China. China's landscape is vast and diverse, ranging from the Gobi and Taklamakan deserts in the arid north to the subtropical forests in the wetter south. The Himalaya, Karakoram, Pamir and Tian Shan mountain ranges separate China from much of South and Central Asia. The Yangtze and Yellow rivers, the third and sixth longest in the world, respectively, run from the Tibetan Plateau to the densely populated eastern seaboard. China's coastline along the Pacific Ocean is 14,500 kilometers (9,000 miles) long and is bounded by the Bohai, Yellow, East China and South China Seas. China connects through the Kazakh border to the Eurasian steppe, which has been an artery of communication between East and West since the Neolithic through the steppe route, the ancestor of the terrestrial Silk Roads. Landspace and climate in China. The territory of China lies between latitudes 18 degrees and 54 degrees north, and longitudes 73 degrees and 135 degrees east. China's landscapes vary significantly across its vast territory. In the east, along the shores of the Yellow Sea and the East China Sea, there are extensive and densely populated alluvial plains, while on the edges of the Inner Mongolian Plateau in the north, broad grasslands predominate. Southern China is dominated by hills and low mountain ranges, while the Central East hosts the deltas of China's two major rivers, the Yellow River and the Yangtze River. Other major rivers include the Xi, Mekong, Brahmaputra and Amur. To the west sit major mountain ranges, most notably the Himalayas. High plateaus feature among the more arid landscapes of the north, such as the Taklamakan and the Gobi Desert. The world's highest point, Mount Everest, 8,848 meters, lies on the Sino-Nepalese border. The country's lowest point, and the world's third lowest, is the dried lake bed of Ading Lake, -154 meters, in the Turpan Depression. China's climate is mainly dominated by dry seasons and wet monsoons, which lead to pronounced temperature differences between winter and summer. In the winter, northern winds coming from high-latitude areas are cold and dry. In summer, southern winds from coastal areas at lower latitudes are warm and moist. The climate in China differs from region to region because of the country's highly complex topography. A major environmental issue in China is the continued expansion of its deserts, particularly the Gobi Desert. Although barrier tree lines planted since the 1970s have reduced the frequency of sandstorms, prolonged drought and poor agricultural practices have resulted in dust storms plaguing northern China each spring, which then spread to other parts of East Asia, including Japan and Korea. China's environmental watchdog, SEPA, stated in 2007 that China is losing 4,000 square kilometers (1,500 square miles) per year to desertification. Water quality, erosion, and pollution control have become important issues in China's relations with other countries. Melting glaciers in the Himalayas could potentially lead to water shortages for hundreds of millions of people. China has a very agriculturally suitable climate and has been the largest producer of rice, wheat, tomatoes, brinjal, grapes, watermelon, spinach in the world. Biodiversity of China. China is one of 17 megadiverse countries, lying in two of the world's major ecozones, the Palearctic and the Indomalaya. By one measure, China has over 34,687 species of animals and vascular plants, making it the third most biodiverse country in the world, after Brazil and Colombia. The country signed the Rio de Janeiro Convention on Biological Diversity on the 11th of June 1992, and became a party to the convention on the 5th of January 1993. It later produced a national biodiversity strategy and action plan, with one revision that was received by the convention on 21 September 2010. China is home to at least 551 species of mammals, the third highest such number in the world, 1,221 species of birds 8th, 424 species of reptiles 7th, and 333 species of amphibians 7th. Wildlife in China share habitat with and bear acute pressure from the world's largest population of Homo sapiens. At least 840 animal species are threatened, vulnerable or in danger of local extinction in China, due mainly to human activity such as habitat destruction, pollution and poaching for food, fur and ingredients for traditional Chinese medicine. Endangered wildlife is protected by law, and as of 2005, the country has over 2,349 nature reserves, covering a total area of 149.95 million hectares, 15% of China's total land area. The Beijing was confirmed extinct on 12 December 2006. China has over 32,000 species of vascular plants and is home to a variety of forest types. Cold coniferous forests predominate in the north of the country, supporting animal species such as moose and Asian black bear, along with over 120 bird species. The understory of moist conifer forests may contain thickets of bamboo. In higher montane stands of juniper and yew, the bamboo is replaced by rhododendrons. Subtropical forests, which are predominant in central and southern China, support as many as 146,000 species of flora. Tropical and seasonal rainforests, though confined to Yunnan and Hainan Island, contain a quarter of all the animal and plant species found in China. China has over 10,000 recorded species of fungi, and of them, nearly 6,000 are higher fungi. Environmental issues. In recent decades, China has suffered from severe environmental deterioration and pollution. While regulations such as the 1979 Environmental Protection Law are fairly stringent, they are poorly enforced, as they are frequently disregarded by local communities and government officials in favor of rapid economic development. Urban air pollution is a severe health issue in the country. The World Bank estimated in 2013 that 16 of the world's 20 most polluted cities are located in China. And China is the country with the highest death toll because of air pollution. There are 1.14 million deaths caused by exposure to ambient air pollution. China is the world's largest carbon dioxide emitter. The country also has significant water pollution problems. 40% of China's rivers had been polluted by industrial and agricultural waste by late 2011. In 2014, the internal freshwater resources per capita of China reduced to 2,062 cubic meters, and it was below 500 cubic meters in the North China Plain, while 5,920 cubic meters in the world. In China, heavy metals also cause environmental pollution. Heavy metal pollution is an inorganic chemical hazard, which is mainly caused by lead Pb, chromium Cr, arsenic as cadmium Cd, mercury Hg, zinc Zn, copper Cu, cobalt Co, and nickel Ni. 5 metals among them, Pb, Cr as Cd, and Hg, are the key heavy metal pollutants in China. Heavy metal pollutants mainly come from mining, sewage irrigation, the manufacturing of metal-containing products, and other related production activities. High level of heavy metal exposure can also cause permanent intellectual and developmental disabilities, including reading and learning disabilities, behavioral problems, hearing loss, attention problems, and disruption in the development of visual and motor function. According to the data of a national census of pollution, China has more than 1.5 million sites of heavy metals exposure. The total volume of discharged heavy metals in the wastewater, waste gas and solid wastes are around 900,000 tons each year from 2005 to 2011. However, China is the world's leading investor in renewable energy and its commercialization, with $52 billion invested in 2011 alone. It is a major manufacturer of renewable energy technologies and invests heavily in local-scale renewable energy projects. By 2015, over 24% of China's energy was derived from renewable sources, while most notably from hydroelectric power. A total installed capacity of 197 gigawatts makes China the largest hydroelectric power producer in the world. China also has the largest power capacity of installed solar photovoltaic system and wind power system in the world. In 2011, the Chinese government announced plans to invest 4 trillion yuan $619 billion United States dollars in water infrastructure and desalination projects over a 10-year period, and to complete construction of a flood prevention and anti-drought system by 2020. In 2013, China began a 5-year, $277 billion United States dollars effort to reduce air pollution, particularly in the north of the country. Political geography of China. The People's Republic of China is the second largest country in the world by land area after Russia, and is the third largest by total area, after Russia and Canada. China's total area is generally stated as being approximately 9,600,000 square kilometers, 3,700,000 square miles. Specific area figures range from 9,572,900 square kilometers, 3,696,100 square miles, according to the Encyclopaedia Britannica, to 9,596,961 square kilometers, 3,705,407 square miles, according to the UN Demographic Yearbook and the CIA World Factbook. China has the longest combined land border in the world, measuring 22,117 kilometers, 13,743 miles, from the mouth of the Yalu River, Amnok River, to the Gulf of Tonkin. China borders 14 nations, more than any other country except Russia, which also borders 14. China extends across much of East Asia, bordering Vietnam, Laos, and Myanmar, Burma in Southeast Asia, India, Bhutan, Nepal, Afghanistan, and Pakistan in South Asia, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan in Central Asia, and Russia, Mongolia, and North Korea in Inner Asia and Northeast Asia. Additionally, China shares maritime boundaries with South Korea, Japan, Vietnam, and the Philippines. Politics of China. China's constitution states that the People's Republic of China is a socialist state under the People's Democratic Dictatorship led by the working class and based on the alliance of workers and peasants, and that the state organs apply the principle of democratic centralism. The PRC is one of the world's only socialist states explicitly aiming to build communism. The Chinese government has been variously described as communist and socialist, but also as authoritarian and corporatist, with heavy restrictions in many areas, most notably against free access to the Internet, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, the right to have children, free formation of social organizations and freedom of religion. Its current political, ideological and economic system has been termed by its leaders as the People's Democratic Dictatorship, socialism with Chinese characteristics, which is Marxism adapted to Chinese circumstances, and the socialist market economy, respectively. According to Lutgard Lams, President Xi is making great attempts to synthesize Marxist-Leninist thought with Chinese characteristics in the political sphere. Military of China. With 2.3 million active troops, the People's Liberation Army (PLA) is the largest standing military force in the world, commanded by the Central Military Commission (CMC). China has the second biggest military reserve force, only behind North Korea. The PLA consists of the Ground Force (PLAGF), the Navy (Plan), the Air Force (PLAF), and the People's Liberation Army Rocket Force (PLARF). According to the Chinese government, China's military budget for 2017 totaled $151.5 billion United States dollars, constituting the world's second largest military budget, although the military expenditures GDP ratio with 1.3% of GDP is below world average. However, many authorities, including SIPRI and the U.S. Office of the Secretary of Defense, argue that China does not report its real level of military spending, which is allegedly much higher than the official budget. As a recognized nuclear weapons state, China is considered both a major regional military power and a potential military superpower. According to a 2013 report by the U.S. Department of Defense, China fields between 50 and 75 nuclear ICBMs, along with a number of SRBMs. However, compared with the other 4 UN Security Council permanent members, China has relatively limited power projection capabilities. To offset this, it has developed numerous power projection assets since the early 2000s. Its first aircraft carrier entered service in 2012, and it maintains a substantial fleet of submarines, including several nuclear-powered attack and ballistic missile submarines. China has furthermore established a network of foreign military relationships along critical sea lanes. China has made significant progress in modernizing its air force in recent decades, purchasing Russian fighter jets such as the Sukhoi Su-30, and also manufacturing its own modern fighters, most notably the Chengdu J-10, J-20 and the Shenyang J-11, J-15, J-16, and J-31. China is furthermore engaged in developing an indigenous stealth aircraft and numerous combat drones. Air and sea denial weaponry advances have increased the regional threat from the perspective of Japan as well as Washington. China has also updated its ground forces, replacing its aging Soviet-derived tank inventory with numerous variants of the modern Type 99 tank, and upgrading its battlefield C-3I and C-4I systems to enhance its network-centric warfare capabilities. In addition, China has developed or acquired numerous advanced missile systems, including anti-satellite missiles, cruise missiles and submarine-launched nuclear ICBMs. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute's data, China became the world's third-largest exporter of major arms in 2010-14, an increase of 143% from the period 2005-09. SIPRI also calculated that China surpassed Russia to become the world's second-largest arms exporter by 2020. Chinese officials stated that spending on the military will rise to US $173 billion in 2018. In the period of 2014 to 2018, China was the fifth-largest exporter of major arms in the world, with an increase of 2.7% compared to the previous period. In August 2018, China tested its first hypersonic flight. The China Academy of Aerospace Aerodynamics (CAAA) claims to have successfully conducted the test with the aircraft Starry Sky 2 that touched a speed of Mach 6, which is 6 times the speed of sound, that can carry nuclear missiles. Economy of China. Since 2010, China had the world's second-largest economy in terms of nominal GDP, totaling approximately 13.5 trillion United States dollars, 90 trillion yuan as of 2018. In terms of purchasing power parity (PPP GDP), China's economy has been the largest in the world since 2014, according to the World Bank. According to the World Bank, China's GDP grew from $150 billion in 1978 to $13.6 trillion by 2018. China's economic growth has been consistently above 6% since the introduction of economic reforms in 1978. China is also the world's largest exporter and second-largest importer of goods. Between 2010 and 2019, China's contribution to global GDP growth has been 25% to 39%. China had the largest economy in the world for most of the past 2,000 years, during which it has seen cycles of prosperity and decline. Since economic reforms began in 1978, China has developed into a highly diversified economy and one of the most consequential players in international trade. Major sectors of competitive strength include manufacturing, retail, mining, steel, textiles, automobiles, energy generation, green energy, banking, electronics, telecommunications, real estate, e-commerce, and tourism. China has 3 out of the 10 largest stock exchanges in the world, Shanghai, Hong Kong and Shenzhen, that together have a market capitalization of over $10 trillion, as of 2019. China has been the world's No. 1 manufacturer since 2010, after overtaking the US, which had been number 1 for the previous 100 years. China has also been number 2 in high-tech manufacturing since 2012, according to US National Science Foundation. China is the second-largest retail market in the world, next to the United States. China leads the world in e-commerce, accounting for 40% of the global market share in 2016 and more than 50% of the global market share in 2019. China is the world's leader in electric vehicles, manufacturing and buying half of all the plug-in electric cars (BEV and PHEV) in the world in 2018. China had 174 gigawatts of installed solar capacity by the end of 2018, which amounts to more than 40% of the global solar capacity. As of 2018, China was first in the world in total number of billionaires and second in millionaires. There were 658 Chinese billionaires and 3.5 million millionaires. However, it ranks behind over 70 countries out of around 180 in per capita economic output, making it a middle-income country. Additionally, its development is highly uneven. Its major cities and coastal areas are far more prosperous compared to rural and interior regions. China brought more people out of extreme poverty than any other country in history. Between 1978 and 2018, China reduced extreme poverty by 800 million. China reduced the extreme poverty rate. Per international standard, it refers to an income of less than $1.90 per day, from 88% in 1981 to 1.85% by 2013. According to the World Bank, the number of Chinese in extreme poverty fell from 756 million to 25 million between 1990 and 2013. China's own national poverty standards are higher, and thus the national poverty rates were 3.1% in 2017 and 1% in 2018. In 2019, China overtook the U.S. as the home to the highest number of rich people in the world, according to the Global Wealth Report by Credit Suisse. In other words, as of 2019, 100 million Chinese are in the top 10% of the wealthiest individuals in the world, those who have a net personal wealth of at least $110,000. Science and technology in China. China was once a world leader in science and technology up until the Ming Dynasty. Ancient Chinese discoveries and inventions, such as paper-making, printing, the compass, and gunpowder, the four great inventions, became widespread across East Asia, the Middle East, and later to Europe. Chinese mathematicians were the first to use negative numbers. By the 17th century, Europe and the Western world surpassed China in scientific and technological advancement. The causes of this early modern great divergence continue to be debated by scholars to this day. After repeated military defeats by the European colonial powers and Japan in the 19th century, Chinese reformers began promoting modern science and technology as part of the self-strengthening movement. After the Communists came to power in 1949, efforts were made to organize science and technology based on the model of the Soviet Union, in which scientific research was part of central planning. After Mao's death in 1976, science and technology was established as one of the four modernizations, and the Soviet-inspired academic system was gradually reformed. Languages in China. There are as many as 292 living languages in China. The languages most commonly spoken belong to the Sinitic branch of the Sino-Tibetan language family, which contains Mandarin, spoken by 70% of the population, and other varieties of Chinese language, Yu, including Cantonese and Taishanese, Wu, including Shanghainese and Suzhounese, Min, including Fujianese, Hokkien and Teochew, Shang, Gan and Hakka. Languages of the Tibeto-Burman branch, including Tibetan, Chang, Naxi and Yi, are spoken across the Tibetan and Yunnan-Guzhou Plateau. Other ethnic minority languages in southwest China include Zhuang, Tai, Dong and Sui of the Tai-Kadai family, Miao and Yao of the Hmong-Mien family, and Hua of the Austroasiatic family. Across northeastern and northwestern China, local ethnic groups speak Altaic languages including Manchu, Mongolian and several Turkic languages, Uyghur, Kazakh, Kyrgyz, Salar and Western Yugur. Korean is spoken natively along the border with North Korea. Sarakoli, the language of Tajiks in western Xinjiang, is an Indo-European language. Taiwanese Aborigines, including a small population on the mainland, speak Austronesian languages. Standard Mandarin, a variety of Mandarin based on the Beijing dialect, is the official national language of China and is used as a lingua franca in the country between people of different linguistic backgrounds. Mongolian, Uyghur, Tibetan, Zhuang and various other languages are also regionally recognized throughout the country. Chinese characters have been used as the written script for the Sinitic languages for thousands of years. They allow speakers of mutually unintelligible Chinese varieties to communicate with each other through writing. In 1956, the government introduced simplified characters, which have supplanted the older traditional characters in mainland China. Chinese characters are romanized using the pinyin system. Tibetan uses an alphabet based on an Indic script. Uyghur is most commonly written in Persian alphabet-based Uyghur Arabic alphabet. The Mongolian script used in China and the Manchu script are both derived from the Old Uyghur alphabet. Zhuang uses both an official Latin alphabet script and a traditional Chinese character script. Culture in China. Since ancient times, Chinese culture has been heavily influenced by Confucianism. For much of the country's dynastic era, opportunities for social advancement could be provided by high performance in the prestigious imperial examinations, which have their origins in the Han Dynasty. The literary emphasis of the exams affected the general perception of cultural refinement in China, such as the belief that calligraphy, poetry and painting were higher forms of art than dancing or drama. Chinese culture has long emphasized a sense of deep history and a largely inward-looking national perspective. Examinations and a culture of merit remain greatly valued in China today. The first leaders of the People's Republic of China were born into the traditional imperial order, but were influenced by the May 4th movement and reformist ideals. They sought to change some traditional aspects of Chinese culture, such as rural land tenure, sexism, and the Confucian system of education, while preserving others, such as the family structure and culture of obedience to the state. Some observers see the period following the establishment of the PRC in 1949 as a continuation of traditional Chinese dynastic history, while others claim that the Communist Party's rule has damaged the foundations of Chinese culture, especially through political movements such as the Cultural Revolution of the 1960s, where many aspects of traditional culture were destroyed, having been denounced as regressive and harmful, or vestiges of feudalism. Many important aspects of traditional Chinese morals and culture, such as Confucianism, art, literature, and performing arts like Peking opera, were altered to conform to government policies and propaganda at the time. Access to foreign media remains heavily restricted. Today, the Chinese government has accepted numerous elements of traditional Chinese culture as being integral to Chinese society. With the rise of Chinese nationalism and the end of the Cultural Revolution, various forms of traditional Chinese art, literature, music, film, fashion and architecture have seen a vigorous revival, and folk and variety art in particular have sparked interest nationally and even worldwide. China is now the third most visited country in the world, 656, with 55.7 million inbound international visitors in 2010. It also experiences an enormous volume of domestic tourism. An estimated 740 million Chinese holiday makers traveled within the country in October 2012. Sports in China. China has become a prime sports destination worldwide. The country gained the hosting rights for several major global sports tournaments including the 2008 Summer Olympics, the 2015 World Championships in Athletics, the 2019 FIBA Basketball World Cup and the upcoming 2022 Winter Olympics. China has one of the oldest sporting cultures in the world. There is evidence that archery was practiced during the Western Zhou dynasty. Swordplay, jianshu, and kuju, a sport loosely related to association football, date back to China's early dynasties as well. Physical fitness is widely emphasized in Chinese culture, with morning exercises such as qigong and tai chi chuan widely practiced, and commercial gyms and private fitness clubs are gaining popularity across the country. Basketball is currently the most popular spectator sport in China. The Chinese Basketball Association and the American National Basketball Association have a huge following among the people, with native or ethnic Chinese players such as Yao Ming and Yi Jinlian held in high esteem. China's Professional Football League, now known as Chinese Super League, was established in 1994. It is the largest football market in Asia. Other popular sports in the country include martial arts, table tennis, badminton, swimming and snooker. Board games such as Go, known as Weiqi in Chinese, Shangqi, Mahjong, and more recently chess, are also played at a professional level. In addition, China is home to a huge number of cyclists, with an estimated 470 million bicycles as of 2012. Many more traditional sports, such as dragon boat racing, Mongolian-style wrestling and horse racing are also popular. China has participated in the Olympic Games since 1932, although it has only participated as the PRC since 1952. China hosted the 2008 Summer Olympics in Beijing, where its athletes received 51 gold medals, the highest number of gold medals of any participating nation that year. China also won the most medals of any nation at the 2012 Summer Paralympics, with 231 overall, including 95 gold medals. In 2011, Shenzhen in Guangdong, China hosted the 2011 Summer Universiade. China hosted the 2013 East Asian Games in Tianjin and the 2014 Summer Youth Olympics in Nanjing, the first country to host both regular and youth Olympics. Beijing and its nearby city Zhangjiakou of Hebei Province will also collaboratively host the 2022 Olympic Winter Games, which will make Beijing the first city in the world to hold both the Summer Olympics and the Winter Olympics. Thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, click on like button. If you want to watch more videos like this, click on the subscription button below, it's free subscription.